Today we will be learning how to determine the rules for inequalities when applying operations. So looking at this first question here, given the inequality that -4 is less than 7, state all possible values for x that would satisfy the following inequalities. So looking at this, if I have -4x is less than 7x, that would be true for all values that are, well, let's see. If I do 0, -4, 0, less than 7 times 0, well, 0 is not less than 0, it's equal to, so that won't work. Let's try -4 times -1 is less than 7 times. So I get -4 times -1, well, that's a positive 4, less than 7 times -1 is -7. That's not true, and I notice if I continue with -2 and so on, I'm still going to have a positive number because a negative times a negative gives me a positive, and a negative times a positive is going to give me a negative. So for instance, if I'd multiply -4 by anything that's -x, less than 7 times any negative value for x, I'm going to get a positive answer less than a negative answer, which is not true. So let's try some positive values. So if I do -4 times 1 is less than 7 times 1, well, that's the same inequality, so that's definitely true. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 1. What about 2? Well, I'll have -8 is less than 14. Oh, so yeah, it's just going to keep getting more negative, and this is going to keep getting more positive. So I can go ahead and know that it's going to be all positive numbers. But what about from 0 to 1? What if I do a fraction? So I have -4 times a half is less than 7 times a half. Well, I get -2 is less than 3.5. So again, similar method I did here. If I multiply by a positive number, I'm still going to get -4 is less than 7, or a negative number is less than a positive number, which is true. So I would do an open circle at 0 because it is not true at 0. Okay, awesome. So looking at what we've done, I think that's going to help us answer the next couple of questions. So it says -4x is greater than 7x. Well, I remember when we were multiplying by negatives. So when we had -4 times a negative is greater than 7 times a negative, we got a positive is greater than a negative, which would be true. So that means the negative numbers. Uh-oh, but what about 0? -4 times 0 is still -4. Excuse me, is 0. And 7x times, where x is 0, is 0. 0 is not greater than 0, so another open circle. Well, when did I get a number that was equal to a number? -4x is equal to 7x. That's going to be true when I say that x equals 0. Alright, so go ahead and feel free to take a screenshot of this. But to recap, when we have a negative number times a positive, we still get a negative. When we have a positive times positive, we still get a positive. So this is when x equals something positive. This was when x equaled something negative. Once x was equal to a negative, we had a positive greater than negative. So that was true when we multiply by a negative. So those are solutions to the inequality. And -4x was only equal to 7x when x equaled 0. 0 equals 0. All right, the next slide says if A is a negative integer, use the number sentence that is true, or highlight the number sentence that is true. If the number sentence is not true, give a reason. Use a number line to help you with your thinking. So A is a negative integer. Well, if A is a negative integer, let's do -1, okay? And then we're highlighting the number sentence that is true. So I'm going to solve them out to the side. 5 plus -1 is less than 5. That is true. If I did -100, I'll have -95 is less than 5. Okay. 5 plus A is never going to be greater than 5. That'll be false. Because if I did 5 plus -1, or negative integer, this value is going to get smaller, and it has to be greater than 5. All right? Remember, 5 minus a negative value, or removing a negative, is the same thing as adding a positive. So 5 minus -1, that'll be equal to 6, and that is greater than 5. So that will work. 5 minus A, nope. So again, we're supposed to circle them, but I'm doing check marks in true. So this one's true, this one's true. 5 times a negative number is less than 5. Well, 5 times anything that's negative is going to give me something that's negative. And all negative numbers will be less than 5. That is true. 5 plus A is greater than A. So if I did 5 plus -1 is greater than A. I get 4 is greater than -1. That's true. But I'm starting to wonder, what if I did maybe -7? 5 plus -7 is greater than -7. 5 plus -7, yes, because it's always going to be 5 more. So this will be true. 5 plus -7 is -2 being greater than -7. That will always be true. What about 5 minus -1 is greater than -1? Well, 5, when I subtract a negative, I'm going to get more positive. So that a positive will always be greater than a negative. So I'll get 6 is greater than -1. That one's true. So far, all of them are the left. Okay, subtracting a negative number is the same thing as adding, and that is going to be greater. All right, 5 times -1 is greater than -1. 5, well, I'm going to do 5 groups of whatever A is, and it's going to be 5 groups of negative, needs to be greater. So 5 groups of the negative needs to be greater than 1 group of the negative. Well, 5 groups of a negative is going to always be more negative. So I don't think this is going to be true, but let's try it. 5 times -1 is -5, greater than -1. That doesn't work. Remember, inequalities always have to be true. What about 5 times -1 is less than -1? Well, -5 is in fact less than -1. If you want to, you can go ahead and try all of these where A is different than -1. Alright, but these are your correct answers. Again, think about 5 groups of a negative number will always be smaller than 1 group of that negative. Okay, have a great day.